Welcome to NNP Symposium. This is the 4 o'clock session with Roberto Munoz-Pando on early Spanish colonial counterstamps identified on coins found in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Munoz-Pando will discuss the 5 periods of Puerto Rican numismatics and the finding of early Spanish colonial counterstamps and coins archaeologically dug in San Juan, Puerto Rico, including preliminary consequences and conclusions of these finds. By way of introduction on Roberto, he was born in Guaynabo, Puerto Rico. Roberto has had an interest in numismatics all his life. Member number 1236 of the Puerto Rican Numismatic Society. He has published several articles in their annual publication, Numi Expo magazine, and the Boletín Numismático, their monthly newsletter. In the year 2004, Roberto graduated from the University of Puerto Rico with a bachelor's in psychology. In 2015, he received his master's in archaeology from the Center of Advanced Studies of Puerto Rico and the Caribbean. His master's thesis was entitled Análisis de piezas numismáticas desde la perspectiva de la arqueología histórica en Puerto Rico, or numismatic artifact analysis from the perspective of the historic archaeology in Puerto Rico. In that same year, he published the article No Small Change at the Times of the Island, publication from the Turks and Caicos National Museum. He is currently a PhD candidate at University of Florida Department of Anthropology. He has presented his archaeological and numismatic work in presentation in Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, United States, and Italy. He currently researches the anthropological theory of value and money in the Caribbean in the early colonial America, 16th century and forward. He currently works as an archaeologist in the South Carolina State Historic Preservation Office. So Roberto, thank you for speaking today, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you for having me. And welcome to everyone that's logging on today. He already introduced me, so I will skip through this. Here's my email. You'll see it at the end also if you need it. Puerto Rico has a very rich and complex numismatic history. In spite of always depending on foreign economies, Puerto Rico has a very particular numismatic history. We are at a very exciting time in Puerto Rican numismatic research. These are some examples of the different flags from the different countries that Puerto Rico has been under, either using their currency or under the dominion of. Like Spain, the United States we've been colonies of them. We have the Puerto Rican flag on the top left corner. And we have the flag of France, of England, and of the Netherlands, because they were attacking us at some point during the Spanish colonial period. To the right top corner, we have the Moneda Provincial of Puerto Rico of 1896. And below it is the 2009 state quarter, or territory quarter, should I call it, from the United States Mint, which is actually, it's a recent coin, but it still has to do with my topic. Puerto Rico, as I told you, recently, many doctors have been publishing articles on different types of coins and early paper money, like Dr. Navarro Sayas, Dr. Crespo Armaiz, Dr. Davila. There's some examples of those books right now in the slide that we're seeing. The field of exonumia, which studies non-official currency, for example, medals, tokens, and such items, the Fumero family, who was a father and son duo, published the books on the left corner of Hacienda Tokens of Puerto Rico and Mercant Tokens of Puerto Rico. The Hacienda Tokens of Puerto Rico are actually called riles by some scholars. Many other researchers are reporting their findings on numismatic topics. See Dr. Jorge Ortiz Murias and his upcoming new book, Dr. Ignacio Sagasti and his many publications on diverse numismatic, historic, and archaeological topics. Benjamin Martinez, Eliseo Ramos, and Enrique Manchero, see their book, Estudio de la Moneda, Patrón de Puerto Rico. All those examples, this is the one of the Patrón Moneda. This is Numi Expo, which is the magazine from the Puerto Rican Numismatic Society, in which I am published several times. Well, through this presentation, I will share with you the finding of multiple coins with different counterstamps. And just so you know, for those that don't know what a counterstamp is a design struck in a coin after its original minting date. A counterstamp may be either by an official government or by a non-governmental organization, and it usually has a meaning behind it most of the time. This is okay, this is later. The coins I studied were found in the National Park Service at the San Juan National Historic Site, and they were in that deposit for 60 years, over 60 years, since 1961 when Hale Smith dug it, and in the Casa Margarita deposit in Rio Piedras, Puerto Rico, for around 20 years, when Rivera Calderon in 2004 published the findings of an excavation from the late 1980s, early 1990s in Barrio Vallaja. It wasn't until Attorney Fumero and I made this observation that nobody had seen these counterstamps that I'm about to explain to you about in the coins that were in that place. My study is proof that by revisiting artifacts in deposits, one can learn great deals about them and maybe even rewrite their history if there is something else that somebody missed, not because of they weren't doing a good job, it's just because they were looking for something else. You can revisit. The 5 periods of Puerto Rican numismatic history. Puerto Rican numismatists, led by Drs. Jorge Crespo Armaiz and Dr. Angel Navarro Sayas, who you can see later today give another talk, have agreed that there are 5 periods in Puerto Rico's no monetary history. The first period is a pre-colonial period in which trade of goods took place through either exchange or reciprocity. This was before the Europeans arrived in Puerto Rico, so before 1493. Then there was a transition period. That's the second period. It is one of lack of circulating coins, and it was from 1508 to 1587. 1508 to 1587 is the second one, after the foundation of Caparra, which was the first capital city of Puerto Rico in 1508. The third period was the one of the Situado Mexicano, when there were subsidized funds that arrived in Puerto Rico to help the economy, pay the military, and pay for public works and for the clergy. The Mexican Situado did not arrive regularly due to storms, hurricanes, and due to it often falling prey to pirates and corsairs. This third period lasted for about 1587 to 1809, when Mexico got its independence. The fourth period was filled with crisis and lack of coins, and lasted from 1810 to 1900. The contemporary period, it started in 1901 to the present, and it's also called the dollarization period, in which the coins were changed from the Spanish peso to the dollar, and today Puerto Rico still uses the US dollar as its form of currency. Coins in archaeology. Coins are an important find in archaeological research. They can help us relatively date other artifacts near them, since they have specific known dates of minting, as well as known circulation periods. The information they provide can be very valuable to the researcher. Coins are not very abundant in archaeological sites, mainly because they have an intrinsic value that makes their owner save these artifacts and not lose them frequently. Unfortunately, this also makes them easy targets for looting in the archaeological sites. However, when archaeologists like me do find coins, they can provide plenty of information about the site and its inhabitants. Counterstamps found in Puerto Rico. We're getting now to the actual topic of the talk. While studying some coins found in the San Juan National Historic Site and Casa Margarita deposits, the late Felix Fumero and I, may he rest in peace, noticed that certain counterstamps had not been previously identified in the collection. We're photographing the coins, and we noticed that some of the counterstamps hadn't been identified, and they were there. But when we saw what the museum curator had done, they hadn't named that they were there. During thorough inspection of the coins in the two deposits, National Park Service and in San Juan, 3 different counterstamps were identified in some artifacts. The coins were from as I said earlier, from the National Park Service, where Hale Smith has dug in the summers of 1959 to 1961, were a total of 297 artifacts. The coins from the Casa Margarita were fewer, around 50, and were in worse shape as far as collecting guidelines would dictate. However, actually those were recovered from the Vallaja Barrio in Old San Juan. All coins were studied for their archaeological value and not their collectability, because we were searching for information, not for money. After closer inspection, other counterstamps were identified. A crown 1652 date counterstamp appeared in a coin. A Roman 8 numeral also appeared on another one, and a crown 1641 date on another one. And there was another with the letters P, V, S, and a crown on top of it as well. We're gonna see examples of those, but we're gonna start with talking about all these coins that were here. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention. They were from the Spanish colonial period, and it makes us hypothesize. It can lead us to hypothesize about the trade between the Caribbean and Spain during the early colonial period in the 16th century, which is from where most of these coins dated with the counterstamps. The counterstamps found had not been previously identified in these coins, nor have I found any previous bibliographical evidence that mentions the circulation of these counterstamps in Puerto Rico. That was when I did the first publication on this and the first investigation, which was in 2014 and 2015. The key counterstamp dates from 1577 in Santo Domingo. That's the earliest known counterstamp to circulate in Puerto Rico as of today. It could be that tomorrow we find another coin with a different counterstamp in a dig, and then that will be the earliest. But for now, that's the earliest that has been identified in an archaeological dig in Puerto Rico. This proves that counterstamps were circulating in Puerto Rico much earlier than previously thought. Now we're going to the key counterstamp, which is the one that I was talking about most recently. It looks like this. I found a key counterstamps with different typologies. 12 different coins were from the National Park Service deposit had a key counterstamp. One coin from the Casa Margarita deposit had this counterstamp. These counterstamps date from around 1577 in Santo Domingo. That's when they were first struck. Not the coin, but the counterstamp. Remember, the counterstamp is what they strike on the coin after it had already circulated for a while. It was used to devalue the cup pieces from a 4 maravedí face value to a 2 maravedí face value. That's the key counterstamp, was used for that. These counterstamps are fairly common in archaeological digs and also chance findings in the Dominican Republic. That's one of the different typologies that we found. See, they are different. We still see some of the counterstamps here. You see it here, the key, the little key. And this is another key here. Another type of key here, another type of key here. This is consistent with having been done in Santo Domingo in 1577, which was when it was originally counterstamped, the coins, the cup pieces, which were 4 maravedí kind, and they were going to be devalued to a 2 maravedí count. It is worth mentioning that another key counterstamp was used in Cuba in the 19th century during the first Cuban Revolution. The keys from these counterstamps had, however, a different typology when compared to the ones I found in Puerto Rico. Furthermore, they were struck mainly in Mexican and American silver coins to help fund the Cuban Revolution. For these reasons, I concluded that the counterstamps in the cup coins I studied are from the type counterstamped in Hispaniola, not Cuba. The cup pieces found must have arrived to Puerto Rico from Hispaniola and are archaeological evidence of trade between islands. This leads me to believe that there were counterstamp coins circulating as early as the 16th century in Puerto Rico. This is a significant find because the other earlier counterstamp to be recorded circulating in Puerto Rico that I could find in my bibliographic search in 2015 was the Flor de Lis one from the late 19th century. There have been, after that, my investigation, others like the one that Angel Navarro is going to talk about today have been found, but I'll leave him to explain that. That's his area of expertise, not mine. The key counterstamp was the most common counterstamp found in the deposit I studied. These are more examples of different typologies of keys. Here is the key. Here's another key. Another type of key, but it's still similar but different, you know? So we're pretty confident that they are from the Dominican Republic, 1577, which at that point it was called the Santo Domingo Mint. Actually, it was the second earliest mint to be opened in the, or that started functioning in the New World. The first one was in New Spain in Mexico. The 8 counterstamp. Only 3 coins were found with a counterstamp of an Arabic 8. It was recorded that some cup pieces bear that counterstamp to revalue, so to make the price of the coin go up from 4 maravedis to 8 maravedis. These counterstamps date between 1651 and 1652 in Spain. That's when they were counterstamped. This implies that the coins counterstamped in Spain in the 17th century were circulating in Puerto Rico. This presents the opportunity for future investigations. That's another example of, actually, this is the close-up of this example of the Arabic 8. This is another example of the Arabic 8, if you can see it here, right here. This is what they used to catalog the coins in 1961 at the National Park Service. But this is the actual counterstamp of the coin. It looks like an 8, just like this one. The RX counterstamp, which looked like just an X when I found it. Only 3 cup, see, that's when I found it. Only 3 cup coins had an X counterstamp. All of them identified on the NPS deposit. One of them had the Arabic 8 that we mentioned already, counterstamp on the other side, and some dates and Roman numerals on the numeral 8s on the side where on the same side, right? The X counterstamp, which now I realize it was an RX counterstamp, is also from Spain and dates between 1658 and 1659, and turned out to be part of an RX counterstamp that was struck on the coins near those dates. That's the X. I theorized that here there was an R that got faded away, okay, that got faded away through time, and that's where the RX was. Now I'm going to talk about some coins that I found with central perforations. I found 3 coins which had, I mean, it was more it was 13 coins. I have a typo on my presentation. I'm gonna make sure that I make it right next time. It was 13 coins were found with a round perforation near the center, just like these ones that are presented here right now. I think it could have been a mutilation of the coin to prevent its exportation from the Puerto Rican economy. These coins were very worn before their mutilation. This leads us to believe that they could have been used as what we would call today construction washers to prevent from getting through in between the nail and the piece of wood or zinc. They also could have been used after their period of circulation as coins, as adornos or amulets. And the hole might have been used just to run a string through it. This one, I'm pretty sure it was done on purpose with a nail. This one could have been an accident that made the hole in the coin. The central perforation, as I said, might have been used to run a string through the coin and wear it on the body. This is plausible since people have claimed copper as having medicinal properties, which would make wearing these coins more than a fashion statement, a therapeutic effort. These are more coins with central perforation. As I mentioned, I found or we found, Fumero was with me when I found most of them. May he rest in peace. And he passed, unfortunately, but he was a really good guy. And I would, these were all counters, not counterstamps, the perforations that we found. There were 13 of them. I'm gonna run by them kind of quick because I don't want to run out of time. I want to hear your questions. I see people already writing down in the Q&A portion, which is good. Means that you're listening. This is more central perforation. More central perforation. More central perforation. This is not a central perforation, but this is actually just in the side. This was probably used as an amulet. You see the hole here and here. It's the same coin. This is probably the anverse. This is probably the obverse. The obverse and the reverse, I'm sorry. Obverse and reverse is the name in English. Anverso y reverso. Anverso y reverso in Spanish. See, this is the anverso and this is the reverso, obverse and reverse. The reverse had two columns on it. The anverse had like this one that you can see a V here, very lightly. I'll keep going. Counterfeit coins. This was other finds that were done. This was actually identified by the archaeologists that dug in Barrio Vallaja. So I found this counterfeit coin. It has already been recorded by her. It was made out of it was a counterfeit gold coin. However, it was actually a platinum coin that was gold plated and was used as a period counterfeit 10 escudos coin from figure 14 for the figures that you're looking at right now. In the obverse, which is this one, it presents a female looking to the left with the inscriptions Isabel II por la G de Dios, G meaning gracia probably, y la Constitución, but it probably meant Constitución, 1868. That means Isabel II for the grace of God and the Constitution, 1868. So it is a dated coin. It is actually a period replica of the coin. They made it so that they could counterfeit it and use it as a gold coin, but it was made out of platinum in the middle, and then it was gold plated. As you can see, some shades of platinum color, like silver color, and then gold on some of the areas. If it were gold, it wouldn't have probably aged like this. But this was found by the doctor that did the Vallaja excavations during 1989 to 1991. The reverse, you can see, is very beautiful too. You can see it bears the shield with a crown in the inscription, Reina de las Españas, 10 escudos. Yes, but I'm pretty sure it was escudos. I'm going to translate. Queen of the Spains, 10 escudos. Escudos was the gold coin measure of Spain at that time. It was like maravedíes was the copper coin, reales were the silver coin, and then the escudos were the gold coin and more valuable ones. Just for reference, it has the ones that the falsified one was probably a 22 millimeter diameter with a 1 millimeter width. Preliminary conclusions. Revisiting deposits and archives can yield excellent results for archaeologists, historians, and researchers alike in general, if that want to get accurate depiction of their stories. If you're writing and you're seeing things in books, you might want to go to a deposit or an archive whatever is related to what you're doing, so that you may find more information without even moving ground. Archaeologists can do research from the library too. Further, I wanted to say that further investigations are always encouraged. Here is Rivera Calderon, Virginia. She was the one that dug in Bayaha. This is one of my main references. Roma Valdez Antonio wrote about the counterstamp from from the key in a coin that he found in Santo Domingo. So that's the first way I got into that. My coins had that same counterstamp when the key counterstamp when Fumero and I found it. And the other one is Hale Smith. He was a researcher that with the Army Corps of Engineers that excavated in the El Morro Fort in 1962. This is my personal email. You can write it down and send me your information, and we can share more information about my work if you want it. Here is what I want to thank. So God, my family and friends, and then the Newman Numismatic Portal for letting me be here. My current employer, the South Carolina Department of Archives and History, the University of Florida, where I went to school, the Center for Advanced Studies of the Puerto Rico and the Caribbean, where I also went to school, the National Park Service, where they let me look at the coins, Casa Margarida, which was part of the University of Puerto Rico, where I actually went to college, but I also went there with the deposit while I was studying the Center for Advanced Studies. The Puerto Rican Numismatic Society, the Dominican Numismatic Society, Felix Fumero, may he rest in peace, Eliseo Ramos for the images and technical support, everyone else that has helped me along the way, and the audience here in Zoom. You have been great. Now I'm gonna, also Ivan Mendez from Casa Margarida. He also passed away, and I would like to a shout out to him. He helped me a lot while I was doing my master's. And he graduated from the master's program with me, and then he passed. Oh, so it's a little sad, but he's a good guy. He's in heaven probably. Questions and answers, please.
Okay, thanks, Roberto. We do have a few questions. First one, do you know if the first New World mint in Mexico, the first to mint copper maravedis, or was the Santo Domingo the first to mint copper coins in the New World?
No, actually, if there's a confusion with that, it is known as a fact that the New Mexico mint, the New Spain mint in Mexico, it was called New Spain back then, Nueva España. That was the first one to mint coins. It is a historical fact. We have the documents to prove it. It started operations around 1535, if I'm not mistaken. They actually got the permission first and started a couple of years after 1535, they actually started minting coins. The one in Santo Domingo started also got the permit in the late 1530s. However, they started producing coins in 1544. So in the 1540s is when the coins started production in the Dominican Republic, in the Santo Domingo mint, which is the one that from most of the coins that I found were from that mint. Thank you for that question. That was a good one. I'm glad to clear that up.
All right, next question. What is the significance of the R on the RX counterstamps?
It's probably Rey, but that one wasn't the focus of my investigation yet. So I'm still looking into the significance. Rex is Rey is king, king in Latin. So it's probably something to do with that. I haven't done the whole research on that one, but I will.
Okay. All right, next person asks, can I send you a copy of my chapter on Puerto Rican metals to review?
Okay, that I can't commit to that because I'm doing my own dissertation right now. I would probably just send me your info better, and then we'll talk about it, and maybe you'll be able to, because I cannot, like, commit right now on the recording that I'm gonna read someone else's chapter when I'm still working on my own deep research. And I apologize for that, but it's how things go. But you're more than welcome to send me an email with no attachment yet. Just send me the email. We'll talk about it, and later we'll be in touch. I love sharing information, but I know that sometimes you commit to too many things, so I don't want to do that.
Okay. All right. Next question. How would you say that looking at coins for its archaeological value should impact numismatists? And do you feel there should be more emphasis on history from a numismatic point of view?
If you repeat that statement, that's a very good statement, and it's one of the conclusions of my dissertation. So, yes, repeat it. I want you to repeat it because I want to hear it again too. So, seriously, Leonard.
Yeah, no. The writer asks, how would you say that looking at coins for its archaeological value should impact numismatists?
Okay, it should, is what I'm saying, and the historians and numismatics should look more into archaeology to help them. And it's not that one is going to dominate the other. We're all partners in it. So we're going to benefit from historians. They're going to benefit from us. We're all going to like work together to be to learn more and to share information is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Thanks. All right. Next question. Are there similar counterstamps found on coins from other Caribbean islands, such as Hispaniola, supporting the theory of inter-island trade?
There are. Actually, Santo Domingo is in Hispaniola. That's Dominican Republic and Haiti share currently Hispaniola. That was the name that the Spanish gave Hispaniola, of course. And now they're called the two nations of Haiti and Dominican Republic. Haiti to the west, Santo Domingo or Dominican Republic is what the actual republic, and the city is called Santo Domingo, which is where my coins were found. I actually have seen counterstamp coins from that have been found in different places. Kathleen Deegan, the very well-known historian and archaeologist